Since then, they're engaged in a technical review, but that technical review, we just have to answer some questions and make minor changes to the drawings. It has nothing to do with the approval of funding. That happens when the voters vote on it.
So it's automatic, as soon as the voters say yes,
Yep.
then it's automatic. The state won't come back and say no.
Right, to be more specific, projects, larger projects have an obligation to a preliminary review.
Yes.
They waived that for us, but we elected to go down and talk to them about it anyway. So it was kind of an informal preliminary review. At that point, they can, they will actually, what happens at that point is they will tell you, we're not going to aid this and we're not going to aid that, but they won't tell you you can't build it.
Have they said any of that?
No,
So
we
the
cleared that a
whole
long time ago.
Okay.
Well, it's aided at the
At the
rate of
beginning.
the district.
All right, thank you for explaining that, because there's been lots of questions on that.
So just to follow up, and kind of a final review of the roof project. We had the final inspection by John Mansville on November 19th, and their rep came out, reviewed the entire installation, approved it, and I believe we just received the warranty yesterday or today.
We did today, yes.
So Paul has that. In closing the roof out, we did take some additional credits from the contractor. They were smaller. There were some sidewalk panels that were damaged during the installation with the equipment. We didn't want to put salt on green concrete because that would typically fall and not hold up. So we elected to take a credit back from the contractor. Paul's going to use those credit dollars to fix those sidewalks in the spring. As well as a small credit for some landscaping and grass. So the total of those credits was just over $7,000. So Paul will have those funds available in the spring to clean up those couple little sidewalk cracks and grass seed and things of that nature. And then just another reminder that any future work that will impact that roof at Mullen needs to be done by a John Mansville approved contractor, so we don't void that warranty. I believe it's 20 years.
20 years, right.
So if someone, say, for example, decided they want to put solar panels on the roof, that wherever that work would interact with the roof needs to be done by someone who's approved by John Mansville, so we can keep that 20-year warranty intact. And Paul knows that, but I'm just kind of stating that just for everyone's benefit. And then finally, Dave Slidefine and myself both really appreciate the help and cooperation from Jessica Lyons and Steve Lawson at the building and all the teachers and staff. With the challenges we had, they were all very cooperative and very helpful, and it just made everything go that much better and smoother. So,
What's going on with the paint? You heard it didn't work.
I don't know what happened with the paint. That's probably the only thing that the only issue that isn't really resolved, I guess.
But it's part of the big project. We're looking at some acoustical panels. We're trying to, assuming that building may be the subject of more extensive renovations down the road, we're trying to spend enough money to mitigate the problem. Not a lot of money, because we just don't know where that building will go in the future.
Can I make a comment about that? I heard that it's quite awful in there, that it's very, very loud for kids, so we need to do more than just look. We need to get something and get it up there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, it has toned it down somewhat.
I heard it's horrible though.
We have looked, the architect has given me some information about some acoustical panels with the cost figure of about $8,000. And right now, we're looking at some other things too. We don't want anything hanging, so to speak, because of big targets, so we were looking for something to run the mall stationary and to tone it down. Initially, we thought as the gyms are at the high school, and there's some other factors involved here with the size. It's not as big as the middle school gym, because basically it's the same setup. And there is is somewhat of a difference, but not what we did expect. So we
So
are,
when can we expect it to be resolved?
well, I guess as soon as we get the okay to spend some more money, whenever that is, we can then look at putting the acoustical panels in. Right now, the architect did provide us with one option for these panels with a cost of $8,000, which would be affixed to the wall, not anything hanging. That's where we are at this point.
Where did the painting idea come from? And did we investigate this from another school, or where did that come from?
The acoustical paint?
Yes.
Yes, the architect did give us a sample of a couple of other buildings where there was acoustical paint
And it worked?
on the ceiling. That, I'm not too familiar with.
Because my concern is that was a big discussion, when we had that discussion. It was like, are you sure the paint's gonna work? Yes, the paint's gonna work. So now we spent $2,500, which didn't work, and now we're gonna spend another $8-something to fix it. So that doesn't look very good.
Well,
I think the underside of the deck needed to get painted regardless,
yeah,
because it was just bare metal.
But is it a different cost for
I don't think
one or
it-
for the other? I don't know, I'm asking,
Not
because we
much.
are going to be asked, and I wanna know.
Yeah, it was
Right.
substantial. It was $34,000
To do what?
for just the deck to be painted with the acoustical paint. And we did the entire
Wait, was it-
gymnasium and painted the deck for, I believe it was $10,000.
I didn't know, I knew it was gonna need to get painted, but I didn't know that it was painted already, I guess, more.
Who painted it?
Did you?
You didn't contract it? It didn't go through you? Who painted it?
We had a local painter, Elba Painting from North Tonawanda. We did have quotes on the job. It was presented at a meeting that they made it, Wendell made the presentation with the acoustical paint, and then I made we had a quote from the gentleman that painted the gyms at the high school. He came in the cheapest. We were going to try that avenue first to see, this would, anything that had to be painted.
The last report that we got was the acoustic was being looked into, not that it was being done. We never got a finalized report that the acoustical paint was the cure-all,
Yeah,
to my recollection.
the last time I knew about it, we had 2 quotes for an acoustical treatment, which was like a spray-on
Right.
treatment.
Yeah.
And they ranged, I think the low one was 23,000 and the high one was 34,000.
And we said,
That seemed like a lot, and so after that meeting, walking out, talking to Mike Conroe and Leanne, I said, it seems like we should be able to get some acoustical panels, $8,000 to $10,000 for half of the cost of spraying everything. And that should be a better solution from a cost perspective than spending $23,000 on
So,
a spray. And then Paul had mentioned at that meeting that he had an acoustical paint done in one of the other gyms and thought that might be an option as well, but I think,
we never discussed it. So
Yeah.
where did
we
the money come
discussed it,
from?
we discussed it at that meeting that it was going to be done, that we said, try
That they
the
were
paint
gonna look
instead.
into it, yeah.
See, I remember saying to try the paint instead. I don't remember talking specific dollar amounts, but I remember saying, you'd have to pull up the minutes, but I remember talking about it and saying, try this paint instead, because we thought it would work, and he said that another building had been done with it.
So where did
Correct.
this kind of funding, this money that was used for this paint come out of the project money, or where did this $10,000?
It'll be assigned to the project.
Okay. So assigned.
So now was this acoustical paint or
There's,
regular
there's,
paint?
there's no such thing as acoustical.
I don't know, I mean, to me, I'm thinking like a rubberized thing type thing, so it like,
It's
if
a
that.
spray that they spray on.
But it's
there.
just spray paint, it's not anything special, it's nothing
It does,
rubberized to like deaden the sound or anything like that.
From what I saw in the pictures that I was given from Wendell, that it does have color to it. It was just a neutral color.
Right, but I meant, there's no difference, like a latex paint or a satin paint, but there's no difference of it, like how they spray the back of truck beds with like a rhino liner type
Right.
things. Like, is there any substance to it so that it does deaden the noise, or is it just paint? Are we getting charged for the name of acoustical is what I wanna know.
Yeah, I
I
do
mean,
believe it has.
Is it any more than just
acoustical-
regular paint?
I do believe, use a special acoustical paint, we did not.
But we spent $10,000 to paint.
On regular paint?
Correct. Yeah, the entire gymnasium was painted, not just the deck.
So the deck is not $10,000, the whole gym is
The whole
Correct.
gym.
That's the difference, and I'd like to break down that, like, what would they charge just to do the roof? Because we're trying to compare apples to apples, and we're talking about the
Yeah.
whole gym being 10,000, we wanna know how much of the roof cost do we spend extra that we could have gotten acoustical panels and spent that money, we need the breakdown,
Okay, I may have that information, I
Okay.
can get it.
that's what we need.
I believe that is up to 7,000.
Yeah, I'm aware of the paint work.
I'm not sure how the whole thing came down, and want to know what happened.
Well, I'd like to pull out the minutes from last time, because I know we did discuss it.
Last month, I think October, the second meeting in October.
Yeah, it's videotaped. You guys have it videotaped.
Yeah, because we did, the last
Yeah, it
report
was the second
was,
week in,
was the written,
in October.
so we skipped them up. Yeah, I remember we were talking about when we walked out, there wasn't a resolution.
No, I don't think there was. I thought we were gonna look into it and see if it would work, and there was gonna be further discussion on the report back. That was my understanding. Okay.
That's it for the roof.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, the primary project. We reported some time ago that SED was anticipating a 12 to 14-week delay, a waiting period to get your drawings reviewed. They were right on target with that, but what they reviewed were the architectural drawings. Then we found out there was another 8 to 10 weeks before they reviewed the mechanical, electrical drawings. The good news is that those comments, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing comments, came today. So the SED's completed their review. We have a team meeting tomorrow morning to figure out how long it's going to take us to respond to their review, what we do or what they demand, and then we do. Because once they've made their comments, we review them, we respond to them formally in an addendum. So that goes down to SED electronically. And then they give that a review, and then they issue the building permit. Once we have the building permit, we can go to bid. Now, they indicated that they turn our addendum around, they review it quickly. The only question is with the holidays, we're not exactly sure when that'll be. But we anticipate that we will have the building permit probably within the first week of January, which will allow us to go to bid pretty much when we had planned. So by the end of January, we should have bids in, and what we'll do, in fact, Bonnie, if you could get us a schedule of board meetings in January and February, we'll time the receipt of the bids so that Pike and ourselves have time to accept the bids, review the low bidders' qualifications, vet it, and then be prepared to make a recommendation to the board so that we don't sit around waiting for a week, or ask you guys to have a special meeting to get the approval then. But I would think in the first week or two of February, you would be approving the contracts, and then that would authorize the contractor to start getting materials, et cetera. So we should be on the same schedule that we've talked about for months and months and months now.
So once you approve those, say, second week of February, if that's whatever that board meeting looks out to be, contracts will get issued, notice of proceed will get issued to the contractors, and again, they'll start working on all the paperwork, getting things ordered, getting things in place so that in the spring, we can break ground.
So we're still looking for a spring break ground date and completion by, on the extra, the outside.
Yeah, and that's really the whole benefit, and that's why we wanted to get into the ground so early in the spring, to get the project in the queue, so that we're not, into July waiting for the turf installer. We want to be one of the first projects to kind of get in their queue for the summer season.
I know, that's what I'm trying, that's why I'm like, Madam President, can I ask you a question? Do we want to have a meeting or something to go over exactly what is going on in the project to see if there's anything we want to tweak before we go forward?
I think that would be up to the board, and if the board wants to, I think that would be a great idea.
I think
Well-
because it's been so long,
Uh,
don't get nervous.
Well, once SED's reviewed the drawings, and they have, if you want to change things, then we have to submit another addendum. I would, on the assumption that anything you would want to change at this point would be very, very minor.
Like, my concern, I don't want to spend $50,000 for a ticket booth.
Yeah.
Those things, I'm glad you brought that up.
No.
Those things are being bid as alternates.
Okay, because
So,
that's
that's
not,
perfect.
and that's the kind of stuff I'm
Yep.
talking about. I want to make sure that the things that are supposed to be in there, and the things that we don't need
Yep.
aren't being pushed in there.
We will have a number of, anything that we felt was, what's the word, discretionary, we made alternates, so that the board, when the bids come in, for two reasons. One is we've talked about before, we've done a lot of cost estimating on this project, but cost estimates are estimates, and we need to be in a position on bid day to have flexibility, because we can only award the contract if it's under the price. So we will have alternates that allow us that flexibility, and the board will participate in the decisions on those alternates.
Okay.
The other strategy was that, we wanted to protect the core of the project,
Yeah.
which is what we know we can afford,
Right.
the core of the project. That there are, as happens with any other project, people see there's a project, well, we'd like to have this, we'd like to have that. Those are all great things, but we went forward with this core project in mind, know we can afford it, and when you start adding things, you don't want to
No, I wasn't
jeopardize.
necessarily wanting to add things, I just wanted to make
No,
sure that
just to
something
kind of
like that
explain-
wasn't going forward without us saying yes.
Yeah, I
we
just wanted to
definitely
explain
want
that alternate strategy, which something like the ticket booth where,
Yeah.
you know, you want to break that value out and see what it is part of that strategy, and then make a determination, you know, again, when you review those bids, what kind of dollars are left over, what priorities you have, for those final contract.
I think though, since it's been such a long time since we've all seen the final plans, it wouldn't hurt to look them over, just to see, to make sure that we all know where we are, because there is some confusion on those add-ins.
I think we can do that, and I think
Get us something, even if you just like email it to us, or we can,
it's a big set of documents, and
Okay.
if you remember the October meeting, I think it was the October meeting, we brought in the big roll of drawings and the
Can
spec
you give
books.
one though, that we could like, I mean, like,
we have one here.
I need to have it in my hands, I want to see it. I don't want, you know,
Paul,
it's like, I
Paul
don't like
has
to
a
not be
full
able to
set,
see it.
correct?
We have the
Okay,
final.
can we make an appointment, like, to look them over, and I don't know how we do it, but like,
Yeah, I think you
We
can
would
have a,
like you here.
yeah, I think you can have a workshop where we come, and then we can leaf through the drawings
Yeah,
and say,
something
here's
like
here's what this part of the
so you don't have
project is.
them on like a drive or any kind of like CD or anything that you can
Should
put
be
them
very
up on a
electric.
projector or anything like that?
We,
So everybody can see them?
I think we have them all in PDF
Could
version.
they go up on the projector then, the smart, what is that considered, smart board?
And the PDF version.
Can we do that?
Um,
That way everybody can see them.
I think it would be more, I think you'll all have migraines if you look at these drawings, because they're construction documents.
I know they are.
It
No, I'm
might-
very well versed with construction. I'm curious and I would like to
Okay.
see them.
Well, you're more than welcome, but the,
And I think others would like to see
we
them.
might be, we might get there quicker. We can, Paul has the set, so you can look at those. We can give them to me electronically. But what I was getting to is we'd be having to make a presentation where we kind of digest it for people that aren't familiar with working drawings. And we could talk about what are alternates, what aren't alternates, what the base project is. And what I would suggest, this is a workshop format, right? When we get the bids, there'll be these alternates. We will come back to the district with recommendations. We will say, here's the bids, we recommend you accept these alternates, don't accept those alternates, but then there's be a class of alternates which are value-based. You want to do this more than this, that's not our decision. So what we need to do, what we want to do, is to get through that quickly. So a workshop format might be a great format.
And it'll
So
give
should
you, all
we-
give you an indication ahead of time of what all those alternates are, so you can start to.
That's what I would like,
That's
I
what
would
we're
prefer it
looking
ahead of time, because I don't want somebody to read to me at the same time I'm reading it. I wanna read it, and I wanna be able to write notes, and then I wanna be able to ask questions when it gets put up on the screen.
So should we do this prior to the technical, your replies, or before your replies come back on this?
But
or-
Tessie D?
Yeah,
No, that will
it's
go ahead.
irrelevant.
Yeah, because I think, now that I understand the comment more, it's gonna, there's a fair number of alternates. That's really where the board will express their value system. We want this before this.
All right, so we can get with you this afternoon.
And what I'll do is we will email you plans in PDF form, because it won't be.
That'd be good, yeah.
It's gonna be a big file, you may have to give it out a disk or something.
Yeah, it's I don't think
It's
that'll
gonna be a
crash
lot
our
of
system.
try to email.
I could send the
Make the
grant
check email
table up
email
with the
for 2
complete
months.
set in your office for you to look at.
We could do that, yeah, why don't we come to a time frame where we can all come in over a couple of days or something, so it doesn't have to be all out. So
I can do that.
get with you on that.
And then you have a meeting at the tail end of that where everybody kind of aggregates the questions and says, on this drawing, I don't understand why this says this. Can you explain?
But we'll set that up tomorrow.
But what we can email is the tabulation of all the alternates.
In the superintendent's office, maybe? Can I put it up there?
Yeah, let's put it in the superintendent's office,
Sure.
and table in there, and then the board can just drop it in at their pleasure. Lynn,
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
we're gonna set it up in the superintendent's office,
Excellent.
and you can just drop in when you can, and, then we'll set up.
Like, can we,
something with you
when's the
after.
next meeting? Can we have it before the next meeting so I can come in
The
early?
next meeting isn't until January.
So it'll be in there now. You can
Oh,
put
it'll be in there
anytime.
now, so I can
Yeah.
tell-
Set it in there tomorrow.
Okay, very good.
On the
Okay.
table.
Excellent.
All right, that's
And
good.
then let us know when you want to have that workshop after, and we'll, Brian and I can sit down and go through it.
Probably tell them the January meeting. No, we should probably do it separate, because I think there's gonna be a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think you want it to be a pretty informal.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I'm waiting on that, okay, so that's a good, we have Christmas. Okay. Any other questions for the gentleman?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No, she's not. No, neither is, neither is.
Thank you.
I just smell that, but I'm cold.
Oh. It's 6:29.
6:29. It says 6:30.
Mine says 6:30.
What happened in that seat?
Mine's a blackberry.
Yours isn't right.
There's an apple. You guys all
We
have
have a
apples.
majority, 6:29.
Is it
You're out of luck.
It is 6:30.
Well, he's got the only
right
one that
time.
says it.
Do you already put your time here?
No, I don't know how to.
I thought it came down to,
You better contact the BlackBerry company and tell them.
Well, that's the longest minute I hate to take.
6:30.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to begin the regular meeting of the Board of Education. Called to order at 6:30. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
President Mrs. Smelik.
Present.
Vice President Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Trustee Mrs. Stewart.
Here.
Trustee Ms. Cassell.
Here.
Trustee Mrs. Levy.
Excused.
Trustee Mr. Starr.
Here.
Trustee Mrs. Martin.
Excused. Please turn off all cell phones and pagers during the board meetings. There are no revisions or amendments to the agenda. Members should be working from the pink agenda. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of November 27th? Mr. Shaw and Mr. Starr. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of November 30th?
So moved.
Cassell? Starr? Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Abstain. Ms. Stewart abstains. Motion carries. Let's start with the consent agenda. Are there any revisions or corrections? Oh, that's the previous meeting, I'm sorry. I don't have myself. Are there any deletions or additions to the old business list? I'm going to ask you each to go over them because some of them are very old and hopefully we can either update it or delete it by the next meeting.
Madam President,
Yes.
the very last item that I had requested, for the board to appoint someone who brought it to monitor internet sites.
Yes.
And I would take that off because
I didn't hear a word you said.
on the new business list, the last item from August 14th, in response to the motion regarding the Facebook site, I asked for an appointment for someone to or a process to monitor internet sites that the board doesn't support or approve of, but that didn't happen, so there's no status, there's no updates on it, so we might as well take it off.
What about the UPR updates?
No, I would like to keep those on because once we hear back from the state on what's going on, we should
Okay.
keep people abreast of what's going on, please.
Okay. Verbal communications, there were no questions requiring responses from the last meeting. A parent made a comment about the FBLA club. So we'll follow the guidelines regarding public comment as outlined in the agenda. If there's anyone wishing to speak, please come
I'm just gonna stand here because I think I'm loud enough. Elizabeth Olka. I'm actually representing PTSA today. It's gonna be for our interim superintendent. And I'm gonna just keep it pretty simple and ask the question, I'm assuming you're gonna refer it to Stephen. What is the priority, the order of priority, if that's a good way to put it, for facilities usage?
Mr. Perry, could you answer that question, please?
Thank you.
Certainly. The priority under Board Policy 3280 is that school functions, both academic and sports, are the primary use of our facilities.
What did, say it again?
School functions, academic and sports, are primary. Community ed, if it's operating, is number 2. School-affiliated organizations such as PTSA and Boosters is number 3. Number 4 is other governmental agencies such as CREC. 5th would be community youth groups, as defined in board policy. The next one, number 6, would be school employee groups. And then other outside groups would come after that.
Thank you.
Do we have many outside groups using the facility?
We have a few groups that are travel leagues. There's a few. We have a lot less space than we used to because of the closure of Central, and because of that, a number of those are not with us anymore.
Can I make a suggestion, President? Madam President? Why don't we, because of that, why don't we send, like, I don't know who the people are that are renting the space or wanting the space, but obviously we don't have enough space as we normally do. Why don't we send them a memo stating, we know we've been able to accommodate you in the past, we have less space now, so there might not be as many days that we can accommodate, just so that they know and can plan and try to find other places to go, so that they know where they stand and they can make arrangements, basically. Give them a heads up. You have already done that. Oh, well then, it should already be done. Thank you, I didn't know that, sorry. Very good, so everybody should be understanding that that's the order.
Well, and,
If I may, could we also send these groups a copy of our board policy so they know where they fall in the order, so that if there is a conflict and it's within a school organization, they understand that, yes, you have a facilities usage report form on file, but our kids, our school kids, and the functions thereof take priority.
and just to kind of piggyback off of,
I would like it to be established in case it does.
I'm
Yes,
curious.
I don't know, but I would like there, because there's so many people looking to use our buildings that they need to know where they fall in the pecking order, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, there is a statement on the form number 6 that does state that on the actual facility usage form.
Does it state the order of the 6 on it?
It does not.
How can we add that?
It could be.
Well, I think that would be a great idea, because that way there's no question.
Only because we're running out of space so quickly and there's so many groups that want to use it. I mean, what if we get into altercations where people start arguing and, unfortunately you have to call the police? That would be horrible.
Well, are we letting them know that there's other buildings available, like if they ask for a high school gym, that maybe one of the elementary schools are available instead? Or do we just tell them no?
Madam President, one item that I was thinking, one idea that I had the other day was with Central School. We do have a heat turn down there, the building is secure, the gymnasium is available. I thought that if we would put it out there, if they wanted to use that building and we would charge for it, we're still fully insured, that could be a possibility.
I think
Mr. Perry, you'd have to look into the cost, because it would have to cover someone to open and close the building and clean it and all that, to see if it would even be feasible. Could
I
you
think it's
get
$50
that for us?
right on the form, it says $50 to.
Could you get
I'll
us,
wait to look into that to see if
because
that.
we're talking a building that's, closed with nobody working in it.
Yeah.
Nobody
that's a
assigned
big
to it.
issue. I would like,
That
can
would
we
be
request that be added to the form so that there is no question, this is our policy, and that's why it's on the form, so that everybody is clear, there is no question, this is the order that it goes in and why.
Either they ever hand out the policy with the forms.
Either way.
Whichever is easier.
That would be fine.
Probably easier
Good
to
one.
have the policy with the form.
No, No, I understand, but not every parent in the district knows, and whether, we can keep saying they can go to the policy book, but I wanna make it easy and upfront and honest, and people have no question then. So if we can hand out the policy with the form, I think it will clear up a lot of issues, and there won't, we don't want parents fighting, or,
Right,
you know,
because
inner fighting within our groups, but they have to know that we do have to follow an order, because we're here for the children first, and, you know. this-
There is more in the policy than just the order.
Exactly, I think that would be the
Even
best
if we
thing.
have someone, whoever's in charge of that building, like whatever night staff is in charge, they have a copy of it as well, because if something starts going on, you want it there. Just because we issued the facilities usage form and the holders of that form got the policy, they may not have it with them. So whoever's,
Keep it on hand, yeah.
whoever from your staff is in charge, if it's an outside building here, Riverview, Mullen, if one of them have the policy as well, they can easily go to their office. God forbid somebody had to be called to, like, settle down a ruckus, they're gonna be able to say, this is the policy, this is the way we follow the rules.
I would like to add to that, because again, being the president, I deal with, I mean, I could safely say we have at least 60 of these that go through. And in my experience, even if the principal knew what the order was, or the custodian, because they get that comes to them. The facilities usage goes to the custodian, they put it on their calendar. Now, if the custodian sees there's a conflict, whatever that next step might be, my thought, what I would contact Paul and be like, we have two things going on, what's going to happen here? But if the building principal knows, I have to say, for the most part, at a PTA event, there's a building principal there. So if it comes down to the principal having to be that determining factor, okay, you both were issued it, but I have to tell you, order of precedence is this, this, or this. So that's just some suggestions, and I know I've talked to Stephen about this computerized system too, which might help, and again, we would be so willing to be that trial for you to see how we can make that work. And I know there's a lot that has to be done with this process, but in the meantime, I think order of precedence should be stated to those it's always, there's a president of Little League, there's a president of football clinic, there's a president of soccer club, there's a president for all of them who would be
Send a
notified
policy to them.
in a memo, but I think the building principal has to sign off on the usage either way. So again, if we could get that calendar where everyone is looking at the same data, then we don't run into those issues. And again, I thank everybody who responded to me over the weekend about a particular incident, and everybody was on top of it, and I think everybody's thinking about it, but I did want it on public record as to what that order of priority is, because I think it's easy to then to go back to those minutes and say, look, it's stated right here for anybody who does have questions. Thanks.
I have one question along those lines, so we continue on. We're not bumping people once we say that they have the building for someone higher up in the pecking order, are we?
That's exactly what it means.
Why?
That's what it's written
Because
as.
if it's rented, I assume if it's rented for something outside the district, if something comes up that we need it for our children come first.
That, I don't believe is clear in policy. Did you look at
It's
that?
it's actually, the priority itself is actually in the regulation that supports the policy.
To assignment, correct, when they ask for it, not once they've been assigned.
But I think
You
it
go
ought to be
back
covered
then or
for
not?
This should be clarification.
We need clarification of the policy on that, please.
And I would like to just give an example.
Excuse me, I recognize Jeff.
Policy is clear, the regulation that supports it is the old regulation, and it very clearly defines each one of these.
And what she's saying is once somebody is
yeah.
given the room, like say I'm an outside Little League, I get the room, I have it scheduled, and then all of a sudden the PTA comes along and says, I would like the room on the same day.
Later.
Are you bumping them?
Yeah, we would give to the
And is that what the
organization that asks for it
policy
first.
states?
The organization asks for it first,
Right.
so we don't, it's,
And we would look for, if it was the PTA or one of the
Try to
higher
accommodate them in
organizations, we
another
would
area.
accommodate them someplace else. It may not be in their first choice of location.
okay. But can we get clarification on how that's written?
Can I be recognized now?
Yes, I think
So, in the past, PTA, we put, and I'm going to be very blunt, we put ours in June. Our budget requires us to do this. So we're always in, and we have been bumped in the past due to honor society or concerts or things of that
So the
sort.
school would take precedence.
Absolutely,
over
that's what he's saying, and it actually does say you may be, it doesn't say bumped, but it's wording of such that says you may be,
Room is not guaranteed, basically,
it says something like you might be canceled if a school event arises. So, student council, they don't have to plan in advance. They could come up with something right at the last minute and we would be bumped. So, I think we know that, but if other organizations don't know that, that's kind of like that going in, that you potentially could be bumped. So, like I said, I thought giving an example that this has happened in the past, and again, we know that. We're under the understanding that if something were to come up, and it is sports, especially with sectionals, you don't know when that's going to happen. You can be bumped, and again, we know that.
But what
So,
you're saying is you want other people lower on the list to understand that could happen to them also.
like I said, PTA knows it. I don't know what other.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You,
I don't know what they know.
Although you can be bumped, so could they.
Absolutely.
They need to know
Absolutely.
the progression.
So, that's all.
Okay.
Added to the original form, so everybody has their original.
Any other public comment items? Okay. Ms. Scully, you're your sample supervisor update.
Okay, couple things I wanted to review. We did post the feedback from the BAT survey summary that we sent out. We sent out 26 surveys, and we have 7 responses back. We also have it posted off the main website so everyone can see the response. Mr. Perry, did you just want to make a comment on a couple of the things?
Yes, thank you. Some of the information that came back as suggestions are very attractive, and I think we're going to try to incorporate some of the survey results in some of the things that we actually did.
I'm sorry. Thank you. What I would like to do is I've asked the building administrators to give me 2 highlights that have to do with academics in their buildings and 2 that have to do with school climate to share with the public. So I'll start with Mullen. What their 2 academic highlights were that they have reviewed the ELA with the new Common Core, and they're aligning their curriculum, and they have finished writing their SLOs. They had the Leader in Me Parent Information Night, and they've applied to be a list of schools toured for the 2013 Leader in Me Symposium in Bonneville. Riverview has also applied for that also. At Riverview, they've started their FROG groups, which is a facilitating reading for optimal growth. And they have the math alignment with the CCLS. So that's stuff the elementary buildings have been working on. They also had their Pigs and Wigs, which you heard about on the visit. The Lighthouse team has been investigating items for their student data binders. And Fletcher currently has excellent data binders that they've incorporated in their buildings. Some of the highlights from Fletcher was they had completed their SLOs, and they have started their quarterly data meetings. In art, they have been working on integrating social studies and cultures with Mexico, and they have also started using the robust vocabulary in physical education. Their climate one was the turkey trot. They actually raised over $5,000 for our student that is battling leukemia right now. Yeah, they did a nice job. Almost 6,000. They have their parent night for the interview program also. And at the secondary building, the same thing. You notice you see a common focus here. Majority of people have finished their student learning objectives. They're looking at a partnership with UB to work with our intentional non-learners. You'll probably hear a little bit more about that from Dr. Newton tonight. They started silent bullying prevention videos, and they're going to be played over the cafeteria monitors. And the Mitos business class is focusing on addressing hotspots in our school for bullying prevention posters. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Newton is going to report on earlier questions in regards to attendance, intentional non-learners, and the drop course date, adjunctors date.
Should I say?
This one at the end.
the add drop procedure, so what I have, and I think you have a copy of this, during the first 2 weeks of school, students will not be allowed to drop a course. And the reason we decided on that is there are some students that will come in the first day of school, want to drop the course without even going. And then they go, and then they end up liking the course. So we're trying to give that 2-week period to see if that will help in reference to students dropping courses at the beginning of the year. Students will be able to drop a course after the second week. So the third and fourth week, they can drop a course.
Can or can't?
They can.
Can still drop?
During the first 2 weeks, they cannot drop.
Right.
The third and fourth week, they can drop the course. But then after that, students will not be allowed to drop a course after the fourth week unless the request is teacher initiated. And then students should maintain 6.5 credits throughout the school year. If the student is a senior and has enough credits to graduate, and some of our seniors do, then she is allowed to carry 5.5 credits. Students who enroll in advanced placement courses are very demanding courses. We are allowing them to carry 5.5 credits, and a course can be added anytime during the first 2 weeks and with teacher consent during the entire school year. So if a teacher wants to, if a student wants to have an independent study with a particular teacher, let's say the 14th week of school, and if we feel that it's going to meet the guidelines and there's enough time for that student to complete the work, then we might approve that. So those are the add drop procedures that we have for the middle high school.
For next school year.
For next year. And the same thing for when a student starts a 20-week course, so in the end of January or early February, then that first paragraph will come into play again for that. And then with attendance, so I was asked to gather the attendance of students who have 10 or more absences. So in this case, we have 38 students who have had 10 or more absences out of our 539 students that we have in the middle and the high school. And I'm sure you have the report, but if you look, I mean, there are some students that have 46 absences. We have other students, let's see, 52 absences, 34, 30, and so on. So even though 38 seems like a high number, we are trying different things. I'm going to give you a handout at the end that'll show you exactly what we're trying to do. But we do have in the one column things that we're doing with the particular students that have attendance issues. Because as we know, if they're not here, usually they're not going to learn anything. So we are trying to get them here. And then how many days of school have there been so far? What is this week? This is about the 15th week, so 75 days. She's testing my math skills. And then the last thing is the dropout. So the dropouts that we have right now, what I did is I went through, and the 2009 cohort is this year's graduating class. So I went through, and there are 5 students right now that we have identified that have dropped out from this senior class. And that comes out to about 3.5% of the 2009 cohort. And of course, you have a list in front of you, and we do have students that are 5th year, 6th year seniors that have dropped out. There are some students who have re-enrolled, and then they dropped out again. So we have had that. If you read the paragraphs on the side, it'll explain what we have tried to do in reference to the students who have decided to drop out. So there are all varying reasons as to why a student might drop out of school. And then, so this is the attendance and dropout prevention strategy. So we just wanted to show you what we are trying to do in reference to dropout and attendance issues. So in this case, so for example, if a student is chronically absent, we refer that case to Child Protection Services, and the parent is charged with educational neglect. We have what's called RAP services. It's a CARES program, and our counselors use this. So if there's a situation, family situations at home, they can make that call. And CARES, they usually come with more than one person, and they work with the family to try to get them on track so that students will come to school. Many hours spent on the phone with parents. I'm not sure exactly what you received. You might not have received the packets of...
No.
Okay, because it had student information on it.
Right, I have it here.
Very good. So, but my counselors do a lot of work in reference to phone logs. They document everything, whatever they do in reference to that child. Contracts with students. So the students, this happens to be a social worker. She'll have a contract with a student. So if a student comes 5 consecutive days to school, that student will receive an incentive of some kind. Might be a candy bar or something. Whatever works. Talk with the teachers to get work adjusted or reduced. Sometimes with some of our students who decide to drop out or even attendance problems, they don't keep up with the work, their homework, that type of thing. Student stays after school to work with the teacher to get caught up on work, but sometimes those students don't like to stay after. Check in with the students for a few minutes every day or several days a week. That's nice if a teacher can make a connection with that child and just touch base with that student when they are in. Phone call to the student parent. CAPT, that's the program that I believe replaced FACT. And children and parents together, referral to school, social work, and many phone calls home. Other things, changing schedule. Novanet and Apex, we have the credit recovery. That is good for some of our students. For 5th year seniors, they can come in the morning or in the afternoon. If they are taking Novanet classes, they can do some of that work at home. Home visits, we're still doing home visits. FST, that's a new name for PINS. So some of you might be familiar with persons in need of supervision. FST is replaced at the family support team, and referrals can be placed before age 17. And then connect with families, students with services and agencies needed. I have the name Fabiano here. We did meet today, our RTI committee. Dr. Fabiano is from the University of Buffalo, and we're trying to connect with him. He is willing to give us UB graduate students to work with our students who are struggling, intentional non-learners, students who might have attendance issues, but mainly are intentional non-learners. And he's very supportive of what we're doing. So he is going to contact me in reference to a few names of college students that hopefully can work with our students. Of course, we have to get parental consent. We would have to get approval from central office in reference to using UB students. But this could be something that could help in reference to getting our students there. Changing placement sometimes. ALP does work for some students. AIS Math Lab. And then the City of Tonawanda Police. So we do have this going on. Detective Toth, he is back now. He continues to go on home visits. Goes to homes of students whose parents ask for help getting their children to school, or he will send an officer. So if he's not available, he'll send an officer. He also takes an administrator referral. So we complete a referral that we refer to Detective Toth for youth court. And if a student has 15 or more unexcused absences, then that will go to youth court. And then these students will receive community service. If the attendance does not improve, then it can be referred to family court. And I also have for FST, which is that PINS diversion. So we are trying things. Of course, we would like our dropout rate even lower and our attendance to increase. We averaged every year about this year I think it was 94.8% on the BEDS form for attendance. But we're doing our best to get it even higher. So those were the reports. And just one thing, as you know, if we can, we try to do an exit survey with the students who are dropping out. So this is one that Dr. Fazer actually gave me, and I just want to read it. Of course, I'm not going to read the name. But these are the questions that we ask. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, you might be, but in this case, what are the reasons you are dropping out? I'm so far behind, I feel this is what's best. Had plans to take my GED in June. When did you start thinking about dropping out? Roughly October. Was there a specific situation that turned you off of school? Not exactly. I have bad attendance. So this student recognizes that the bad attendance caught up with them. Did anyone try to talk you out of dropping out? If yes, then who? Yes, just about everyone. Mr. Colgrove mostly, so she actually mentioned the teacher specifically. Was there anything we could have done to keep you here? No, this is on me. So she's actually taking, you know. Are there outside influences that affect your decision? No. Do you have any outside support? And she did put yes, and in parentheses is family and friends. What do you think of the environment at THS? HS is a great school. The teachers and staff are amazing. Do you have a connection with anyone here? Yes. Have you ever been bullied in or out of school? Kinda, but that's done with. Do you have any suggestions to the teachers or students at THS? No, I'd just like to say thank you. And what are your plans? To study for my GED and take the test in June and then go straight to a community college. So the exit surveys do give us some information. The problem is, though, sometimes we don't find the students after they leave. You know, they might move away or whatever it is. So, but it is helpful to have the exit survey just for additional information.
Do you have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Like the whole, prevention strategies. that you went over. How well do you think they're working? I mean, I'm not putting you under the gun like, oh my God, why aren't these working? But what's your general feeling? Is it, even if you saved one, how do you feel?
I think the home visits, usually when we go on the home visits, sometimes we get the parents, sometimes we don't. But I think it works for a small percentage, not enough. You know, I think we still have to try more things, different things. So, you know, it would be nice if we could get more students to come to school on a regular basis. But I think there are some on that list that by doing these things, hopefully they will start coming. I think the RAP services, the CARES, when you have that outside agency involved, and then they're working with the family too. Because a lot of times it's not just a student issue, it's a family issue. So if you can get that organization to really work with them, then I think that helps. That probably helps the most.
Some of them are so young.
Yes,
It's so
yes.
sad, it makes my heart hurt.
Right, yeah, when you see 2010, you know, cohort, you know, they're already. Well,
Any other questions for Dr. Wilson?
thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple more reminders. I wanted everyone to know that tonight at 7 o'clock in the high school is the Fletcher Chorus and Band Concert. And then tomorrow night at 6 p.m. is the middle school instrumental and choral concert. And Thursday at 6 p.m. is the high school instrumental and choral concert. And also, you have in front of you a copy of some notes that came in from the RTI middle school and high school minutes. You also have their bullying prevention minutes, and you have the Fletcher building team minutes. They're all extra, sorry. And the Cincy Task Force meeting that was held in October, you have a copy of the notes from that meeting. And the next meeting is scheduled for January 17th at 5 o'clock at the County Council meeting room. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to the consent agenda items. Prior to making a motion to approve the financial items and based on the information previously presented to the board regarding the visitors,